Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here with Aaron Costello, and we are about to bring a massive 3,000 person tent down to Dallas. We're going to collaborate with Gen Z for Jesus. Awaken the Dawn's tent's coming down. We're going to link arms. We're literally going to fill this tent 24 hours a day with worship and prayer, with upper room and many from all over America filling this tent. But we want to share with you the story.
Yeah, you know, it's really significant because as our team was planning Gen Z for Jesus September 3rd, you know, even before we had really chatted much, we knew we've got to invite Gen Z into the presence of Jesus. Like, there's got to be something, and we didn't have it. We didn't have a plan. And then David reached out, and it was just like all of a sudden we realized, I mean, I'm sure you remember the moment, we're chatting, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's a storyline here that we didn't even realize. It was like, oh my gosh, this is God. We've got to do this together. And so anyways, tell me.
That's the thing. It was a supernatural storyline.
Yeah.
And it hit us. We're in a moment. Yeah. Sometimes you're in a moment with the Lord where there's something unfolding that you couldn't make up. And we feel like that's what's happening right now. And you're a part of it. We want to share the story. So a few years ago, this guy walks in my office and he says, you're in a 444-day transition and God's going to speak to you out of 444 in the Bible. And I'm like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. Honestly, it doesn't make that much sense. But a little bit later, this friend of mine calls me and he goes, man, I had this dream. And in the dream, I was preaching in the dream on Ezekiel 44:4. That's where the glory of God, the actual presence of God, comes into the temple. Yeah. And then somebody walks up to him in the dream and goes, have you heard the new message David's preaching? It's the call of the Neverite. Those that never leave the tent of meeting, never stop saying holy, 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 and never let the fire on the altar go out. And I'm like struck. Guy just said 444. Yeah. And here he is in a dream with the exact reference. And I'm like, something's going on for the next generation to learn who they are before God. Like how to host the presence of the Lord. And I think he's marking Neverites. That's a word that was in the dream. People, young people that were born for this life with God. Yeah. So then you texted a little while later with a dream that you had.
Yeah, similar with 444 in it, which is wild. And in this dream, there was 100 young people that were going up this mountain for a gathering to seek the Lord. And so I was heading up this hill with all these young people, and I knew that it was getting close to dinner time, and we got to figure out a way to feed these young people. And so I start counting in the dream, and I count 100, and I'm like, man, how am I going to feed 100 people? I look at my watch to find out what time it was, and it was 4:44 p.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 4:44. It's almost dinner time, and how are we going to feed 100 young people? And so then the dream switches to this quick scene where I'm talking with David, and David is like glowing with this revelation of the beauty of Jesus and a prophetic song. And so then I wake up, and I am the Lord takes me to 2 Kings 4:44, and in chapter 4 verse 44, that passage exactly, Elisha multiplies bread to feed 100 sons of the prophets.
That's amazing.
Which is the exact dilemma that I had in my dream. Yeah. How am I going to feed 100? And this is the thing is, I believe, and you heard us share it in Gen Z for Jesus videos, but Amos 2:11, that God is raising up prophets and Nazarites, you know, and that's the biblical word that Neverite is close to. Right. You know, it's that heart of a Nazarite, but that never leaves the tent of meeting and all that. But in this dream, you know, it was like the multiplication of bread. And in 4:44, 2 Kings verse 4:44, or chapter 4 verse 44, Elisha multiplies bread, but that bread was a priestly offering that somebody had brought. It was a sacrifice. It was a ministry. It was a gift to the Lord. And that's what I believe is God is doing in the heart of Gen Z. And God is even going to encounter and feed and put his word, the bread, in the mouths of the next generation, is in the place of ministering to the Lord. Yeah. It's in the place of that prophetic sound, that song. Right. It's in the revelation of the beauty of Jesus. And that's what we're looking to do, you know, in this tent of meeting for 3 days, inviting Gen Z to come encounter the presence of God, to ascend the hill of the Lord, right? Seek him, you know, and maybe you're one of that that 100, you know, so to speak, that we're inviting Gen Z to come to the tent those 3 days and encounter the Lord, because I believe God is going to show up and do something so significant in our midst.
I mean, that's just wild. I mean, what if God shows up over those 3 days? I mean, the fact that God gives me the word, two people you had a dream, our other friend has a dream, all with these Bible verses with 444, but it was all about this generation finding their voice before God. Like, everybody's trying to find their voice in culture, social media, whatever, which is important, but the main thing for you and me is our voice before God. That's what moves heaven and ushers in the Lord's presence. So these 3 days are not just the warm-up to get to the stadium, but we want to go after Jesus together, and it's a message. It's about a lifestyle, because Gen Z was born for the presence of God. And this is the way God does it. Jesus dreamed up this idea of gathering together with musicians, songwriters, prayer, worship, round the clock. He shows up in unique ways. It's a culture, not just an event. And so, man, I think that those 3 days, it's August 31 through September 3rd, you can join us. Come early for Gen Z for Jesus. Let's go in the tent together. It's going to be amazing.
Come on, join us. This is not just a moment to get a little sauce on the meeting. Oh, if we pray for 3 days, maybe September 3rd will be better. No, this is an encounter with Jesus that we want to come and gather and encounter the heart of God together.